Okay, we're going to get started. I want to welcome everyone to this online learning conference. The title of today's speech is Evidence-Based Learning, Fighting for an Accurate Comparison Between Campus and Online Courses, given by Jason Hunt and Sister Debbie Cartman-Foster. I'd like to introduce both of our speakers today. Brother Jason Hunt has traveled through 48 states in 21 days on his motorcycle with his father and his children. And he's also outlined the United States in just 18 days. Altogether, he's totaled about 100,000 motorcycle miles. So he's very proud of it. He's also a bishop, and he's recently called to a state calling. Some interesting titles there. Sister Foster is from South Jordan, Utah. She was a Rick's online adjunct faculty. Currently, she is mostly a stay-at-home mom, but she also works part-time for the university. So go ahead and turn the time over for them. Enjoy.
So Debbie and I are going to present together. We've never done this. We just met the other day. And we've never presented, so we're going to give it a go and see where it goes. And we don't have any clickers, so I'm just going to kind of point to Chris and do this little thing. But don't do it yet. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick, brief history about what it is we're going to present. And then I'm going to allow Debbie to interrupt anytime she wants. And then all of you as well, just if you got a question, holler. So we were tasked to develop an online anatomy phys class. I've got a picture here of an iceberg because I want to talk about some of these things that we did not see. Lots of things. When you develop an online course, the first thing we do as faculty here is that we go to the publisher and say, is there something already built so we don't have to do as much work? And does it work better? So we found a publishing company model. We thought this is perfect, designed beautifully, layout's perfect, goes with our book. Let's go with it. And we went with it. And the course evaluations were great, and everybody loved it. That's pretty much it.
I can tell you though that it had a lot of bells and whistles. It had animations, it had videos. The students seemed to be really happy with that. But the text had a lot of information, much more so than a 200 level course really should contain. And they tested, the testing was really detailed. So they had to know that book really well. And that was really frustrating to students. In addition, they had we had banks of test questions. There were about 800 test questions in a test bank. And so we really couldn't help them narrow their focus because they were getting 50 random questions. So we pretty much had to tell them, you need to know everything. And that also was really frustrating.
So here's the problem we ran into. For the first time in the history of BYU-Idaho, we had a nursing student get kicked out of the program. Just couldn't cut it. And we have a lot of connections around the community, and they were coming to us and saying, hey, I don't know what you guys are doing, but your nursing students are not ready. So that's a little upsetting. That's not a ton, but just a couple, 3 or 4, not enough to make a statistical analysis or decision, but we said, well, who are they? We got some names, we looked at them, they were all online students. I have to be careful how I present this because I'm not accusing anyone online, I'm just saying that that was an interesting trend. So we didn't make any decisions based on that, we just said, let's ask a question. Let's ask a different question. Let's say, what if we give them the same comprehensive exam? Exactly the same as the campus. We're using the same textbook on campus, we're using the same textbook online. What would happen if we took a standardized national test that's given to all the United States? How would our students perform? This FF here stands for face-to-face. This is on campus. There's an N value. When we first did this, 483 students. Here's our online students, 146 students. And we have a major problem. We are nowhere near the same level. So we enter panic mode.
Is this just for anat phys or is this for other courses?
Just anat phys. Just the first 264 of anat phys. The 265 data, which is the second half, looks the same, but I don't want to bore too many people with it. Yeah, so this is a big problem. So we immediately go to our online instructors and we say, we need some help. We're not performing. So they come back with a pile of good ideas. We go to the publisher and we say, hey, we want to do this, we want to change that, we want to do this, and the publisher says, our stuff, you can't touch it. Oh, and by the way, we're increasing the price. So here's the problem though. So if you look at the next set of data, this is not on the same axis, just for comparison. The course evaluations were identical. The students loved it. They loved the online course. They liked the campus face-to-face course. And this final data is really interesting. This is the curved scores. Because we were trying to create an equivalent experience, these students were not performing to the level of these students, but we had to curve the scores because we need a certain percentage of A's. So sometimes we would see upwards of 40% curves on online. What that means is a student online that gets an A is actually an F. So that student competing with these same kind of students getting the programs, they're not prepared. So they fail out. And that makes a huge problem for our community and our nursing program. We have a big problem. But because the curve scores, of course you're going to get a course evaluation. They love how it looks, it's fun, designed, all kinds of bells and whistles, and you get a curve score. You get a sweet score. You could fail a test, and you still get a B. We have a big problem at this point. And we can't do anything with it because it's publisher-based material. So our hands are tied. So we make this crucial decision, which we think is going to be a piece of cake, to write our own stuff. That's a whole nother presentation for another time. Almost wanted to slit my throat 3 times, but eventually we got a textbook. Anything to add here?
I was just gonna also say that the curve scores really varied between instructors. Every instructor did it differently. One instructor would take the high score and just make it 100. The other one would add 12 points to everybody's score. And so it was getting around that there are certain teachers that curved a little bit better online as well. And we did see an increase in their registration once the names came out. And so we wanted to make that change also.
Great. So we took the textbook material from the publisher, we deleted it. And we just said, okay, let's create an online course that we're going to use on campus. So we threw away the campus stuff, we threw away the online stuff, we started typing, creating our own textbook, our own pages, our own figures, our own text base, everything. Huge undertaking. But I want to show you this next set of data. So this is winter 2016. Same comprehensive exam. We're still not there. We're about a 5 to 7% lag, but look at the difference. Now here's a problem though. Look at this next slide. The students hate it. And you know, some of our online instructors weren't quite used to it too, which is part of this communication barrier, because I can't communicate this sort of stuff to our online professors. So it's kind of like, oh, by the way, here's a brand new course, have fun with it. It just about destroyed them. I felt so bad, but I don't have one of the problems we have issues is communication. So anyways, they've adapted, they've done really well. But this is to the credit of our online teachers. They did this. They helped us design this course. And I'm going to show you some other data here in a minute. It's really cool. But we have a problem. In fact, it's such a problem, if you go to the next slide, here's our evaluation. It says, we get from an online team that says, you need to rewrite this course. So hit the previous one. I find it fascinating that we're actually getting, performance-wise, very close. And we need to rewrite our course because the CAT course evaluations are off. It's somewhat bothersome to me. But I want to address some of these things. So I don't want to point out too much, but it says the course is way over the students' heads. The students are irritated now because it's hard. It is hard. It is completely different, yes. There seems to be a disconnect between course content and assessments. I want to address that. There needs to be better pacing. So they're irritated with pacing. Content's confusing, difficult to find information. So these are things I take to heart and say, okay, how can we design this better? So I asked the students, I get emails daily, like this one. Mr. Chris. This one. Good job. Hello, Brother Hunt. While working through one of the module quizzes, I cannot help but notice there's a portion of the questions that do not come from the reading or your lectures. This is happening with other quizzes as well. I get this all the time. I get them forwarded from other instructors. I take this very seriously, so I'm like, okay, send me the question. So she sends it to me. Here's the question. What's the function of glycogenolysis and where does it primarily occur? So you don't have to know this to understand that this is the question, and student says, we were not given the location. So I go to our reading, and I do what they do, Control F, and I find the word glycogenolysis, and it says, glycogen breakdown occur in muscle cells to a small extent and liver cells to a large extent. So the disconnect here, it looks like, is the word primarily and large extent. It doesn't say primarily. So the student's irritated. They're not reading, they're just control Fing. That sounds terrible, right? I should try to use a different acronym. Control F, find the word, search it out. If it doesn't match, it must not be in the reading.
Part of the problem is they're used to a textbook where the author writes the exams and it's in the same language.
Yes.
Exactly.
And we're asking them to apply. We're doing this on purpose, by the way. This is completely on purpose because when you get to the nursing program and to an eventual person, the person doesn't have the answer written on them. You have to think about the way you're doing it. So we're doing this on purpose. The other word here is catabolize. Well, we have the word in the reading, but it's not in the same place. It's further down, another paragraph, heaven forbid. So they're going to have to read that. But this is a really interesting problem we're running into. And so I'm a little baffled here. I'm thinking, we got to create some kind of different system. Another question, so where does oxidative phosphorylation? It's the same thing. She says, I did not see the term from the reading. Bolded. Anyways, it says it right here. It just doesn't say it like that. So this is the complaint that the students are coming back that we're trying to analyze it. Somehow I got to get the information to the online teachers, which we're getting better at this.
I did have one question. A few slides before, one of the first feedback was that the course is way over the student's head and that the average GPA supported that. Obviously, there is one portion of this is that students become lazy and they just want to find the answer and they want it verbatim, exactly how it's going to be on the test. But the other portion I'm wondering is the student's lack of preparation of learning at this level causing more frustration because now they're being thrown? It's like, it's out of their ZPD, right? They're at frustrational level at this point.
I think it is. And this is the kind of stuff I would love to hear feedback because I want to fix it.
Okay.
I want to know. I want you to hear because you have the experience. I'm an on-campus teacher. I do not do it online. I completely understand. I have no experience.
One thing I do want to mention is when we moved from the text-based to the instructor writing that Dr. Hunt and his colleagues did, we cut out 70% of the material they had in the text. So what they have is the essential basic information they need in order to move on in their classes. And yet still, they have issues with that.
Yeah,
Did grades go down?
Grades. What do you mean?
Are they getting lower grades? Because before they were getting this huge curve.
Oh, no.
Are the grades
Now the
lower or are
curve
they
is
the
the
same?
same curve. Because of the same course, we curve the same.
So all sections across on campus and online get the same curve. It's
So
not
they're
as large.
that because their grades are lower.
No, and the curve, yes, is lower online than it used to be, but it is the same curve across the board, so it's more standardized.
I just have a simple question. Does the course outline what the student should know when they get to the end? Are the learning objectives there clearly, and is it emphasized? These are the things, these are your goals. This is what you want to learn before you exit the course.
Yes, the way we design the course is that you have a study guide that says, know the following terms, and then you click on the reading, and it gives you the reading for all of that. And the next section, know the following reading. So, and that is what we wrote the test on with those objectives.
But at the end of this course, you will be able to do these things.
Right.
Is very explicit for them?
I don't know how very explicit it's written down.
Whether they read it or not is a different
I mean,
matter.
it's organized that way. It doesn't say.
Is the course content for the online students strictly text-based, or is there lecture and video?
Lecture and video.
In
264. And I'm gonna address that here in a minute. You'll find it kind of hilarious.
You may be addressing the student future, but have you, my wife is in online A&P right now.
Yeah.
In fact, she's attending or observing your class as well on campus. What's that? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she said to tell you happy anniversary. Yeah, and hope you get your canoe. Yeah, I think we talked about this quite a bit, because I'm an online development or designer too, so we talked about this experience in this class quite a bit, and one of the disconnects we found is that the campus students have a lot of other support mechanisms that the online students don't have.
Right.
And that's made all the difference for her. And so I guess my thought would be, what have you considered and to provide the same types of support mechanisms for online students.
Awesome. That's a question I would like to visit again at the end.
Okay.
We're very actually interested in your wife. She does represent
I am
the
too.
bridge. Yeah, you are too. We're interested in different ways. But your anniversary is Friday.
It was last Saturday. Yeah.
She told me.
I actually have a two-part question, sorry. I want to back up for a second. You said that you've got these online students. Are they strictly online or just taking this 100 level and at Phys online?
We have a mix.
So when we talk about online students, we're talking about those that are taking a Nat and Phys online that semester.
Just that one
Right.
course? Do you have any idea of how the ones that take it online perform in subsequent courses, the 200 level or anything like that?
Good question. I don't.
Okay.
I could get that data.
I was just curious if you tracked any of it.
That's a good question.
Okay.
That's good.
In my teaching, I noticed that there's quite a disparity in the expectations and backgrounds of the students. Some students come from a background where they are expected to think critically, and other students come from a background where it's more of a spoon feed, regurgitate scenario.
Those students do not like us.
Exactly, precisely. In fact, they worse than do not like us. But what I'm asking is there any course or any way of taking those students who come with that spoon feed background to prepare them for a more analytical thinking, like a general ed course at the very beginning of their college career?
It's a good thought. I don't know about that. Yeah, it's a good thought. Great. Let me show you some other data real quick. Oh,
Sorry, I just have one question. Just back to the original graph where you talked about, getting that gap a little bit closer. I did notice with the change of the course delivery and content that the on-campus students actually performed about 5 or 6% below on that standardized test than before. So have you guys gone back to say, how do we get that back up? I mean, closing the gap is great, but you don't want to necessarily close the gap this way. It'd be great to pull that online all the way up, and I noticed it was about 5 or 6 percentage points lower
Than what they had the first
than
time.
what they had before.
Yeah, we're addressing that right now. Yeah. In fact, let me show you this. This data here is all exams, not just the comprehensives. Now we've created exams that are equivalent in exact. So they take the exact same exam. You'll notice that exam 4 is missing. That's a complaint I have. Collecting this data is an act of Congress, by the way. I had to go through 125 students and manually enter their scores. There's just no easy way to do this. We've had the online professors trying to report to us, but it's hard for them too, because you're trying to get pre-curved scores. It's brutal, just a system, but that's another day. Anyways, we're seeing something here. On every test, you see a 5 to 7% lag between face-to-face and online, every single time. So we said to ourselves, let's set up a course on campus. Let's see if we can mimic this. So the next slide's really interesting. So we took a Path of Phys course. We had about 100 students. We broke them up, and we said, you guys go to lecture. You guys don't ever come. We're like, sweet! But we recorded all the lectures. So they weren't disadvantaged in terms of that, but they were able to watch all the lectures. Look at the mean value. What are you seeing there, trend-wise?
Exactly.
5 to 7%. So we take them out of the classroom, and we see this same thing.
And this was, they watched the lecture.
They watched the lecture on video, but they never came to class.
It's the exact same lecture.
Exact same lecture, exact same material, same test. We tried to mimic exactly, trying to figure out how to do this. So we're thinking, okay, we've discovered something. Let's see if we can bring them back up now. So the next couple graphs, we're just asking these things if we're trying to look for any information to help us. So this is the current grading class. This is the lecture sections. This is the online sections. And I just put a little trend there. This is no surprise. We're seeing, you can go ahead and hit the next one. We have a nice bell shape here. We got this kind of camel hump there. So clearly some differences. I'm going to buzz through these really quick. This is interesting. What do you think is important? We're asking the lecture students, what's important for you? The readings are number 2. Look at the online students. They're top as the readings. Well, it makes sense. That's kind of all they have. Next one, How important are the practice questions? Lecture students, our campus, I don't face-to-face, is that the term? I don't know the term. Face-to-face students, they don't really like the practice questions. Online students really like them. Next one, what about the videos? Lecture students hate them. Online students don't really like them either. What would you like us to make more of? Next question, videos.
I'm curious, on the videos, what's the average length of the videos?
Some of them, we try to do it in 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, so it wouldn't kill them.
Because I notice in my day job, after about 7 minutes, they're done.
Yeah, that's
Especially if it's just listening. You know, now they have capabilities of it. Prompts you to ask, you have to answer a question, you have to engage
we have a
in the
bunch of
lecture.
those too.
Yeah, but if you go over about 7 minutes, you notice a
Interesting.
diminishing
That's
return.
good, that's good information. The problem we have with this is for us to make a video, we're
Exactly.
talking like $22,000
Yeah.
per video. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work.
Yep.
And we don't get paid extra. So we're thinking, do we really want to do this? Is that the route we need to go? You show the next video. This is as of right now. I want you to look at that. What are you seeing? They're the same. There's no statistical difference. This is to the credit of our online teachers and their information and what we've been trying to do, the kinds of things we've modified.
I was just gonna say, I think it's because we're a second semester into it. Us online teachers are used to the new, no textbook and know where things are and are able to guide the students a little bit better.
This is really
I've seen an improvement.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes here that I can't cover. But one of the things that really made a difference, and I fought against it, but it was deadlines. I was so irritated because we don't give our lecture face-to-face students deadlines. We say this is your responsibility, but they're coming into us every day. And we're harping on them, saying, you gotta do this, you gotta be on top. The online students don't have that. So we put deadlines and we changed the deadlines. It wasn't week to week. The online student design was Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Friday. And we're like, no, we want to make it due Tuesday. And man, talk about kickback. It was like I changed the 10 Commandments. But
You did. For us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For us, boom,
To know where we are.
this explosion. But I had collected data before that showed the online students wouldn't even open the module until Friday, Saturday. And all the lecture students were on top of it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I was like, whoa, well, that's our disconnect. So as soon as we forced the online students to be on top of the material all the time and change up the deadline, which is a pain in the butt for everyone I know, but look, that's what I care about. And I do care about everybody else too, but man, that's awesome. Now look at this next slide. We took I think this is fascinating. I gotta let Debbie talk a little bit.
No, go ahead.
So, these are the exam, okay, the exam 1, 2, exam 1, 2, exam 1. These are different sections, all online. We did a little, we pulled a little behind the scenes effort, and I used a trump card, and I said to the online students, hey, you want to try something different? And they're like, what? We can try something different? Yeah, anything. Really? Yeah, anything. So these sections said, we're not going to do anything different. Okay, problem here can be data. Tell you it's an act of commerce. But anyways, these two sections said, we're going to do something different. I want you to notice, if I lump these together, the averages you can't see. If I break up these sections, what trend are you seeing? Are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing?
More Asian people.
Yeah, this is really cool. So we went to these online teachers and we said, hey, what are you doing? What did you do? Tell me, what did you do? One of the things, and I don't want to point people out, but one of the things that they just went and contacted the students individually for stuff.
And actually, that was his SMART goal for the semester, is he decided he was going to spend more effort, not just send the email, it looks like you're not doing your work, what can I do for you? But really contact and really follow up. And he has spent considerable effort in following those students, taking the time, and helping them find the resources that they personally need in order to succeed. The other one, we gave them an option they could take away. We have notes that the students submit. We have a collaboration board. We call it something different than a discussion board, but a collaboration board, and then they have quizzes to help them throughout the module throughout the subject matter before they are actually tested, in their lecture exams. The other section decided instead of having notes submitted, she created an outline to help guide what kind of notes they needed and maybe perhaps funnel them a little bit more in addition to what they had already in the study guide. And she has found, even though we don't see it here, she's found a correlation that is an extra credit point, so they don't have to do it. But those that do it are getting significantly higher test scores than those that don't. She's breaking it down with, if they submit all of them versus half of them versus not submitting at all, and it's correlating very well with their grades.
So one of the themes I want to get out, if you see it, is the communication that has to occur between us. If there's a strong connection between online and campus faculty like this, we can do some amazing things. I mean, we can do some amazing things. This is really cool. Of course, the connection right now is almost super difficult. But this is what we surveyed. So we have, about 800 students per semester on campus. So we asked them some questions. We asked them a bunch of questions every semester about their merit status, lab, credits this semester, everything you can imagine. And we tried to see if there was a correlation between their grade and these things. So we found the ones in yellow. This is what's correlated. So your grade in lab correlates very strongly, there's p-values, with what you're going to get in class. All right. Priority of A&P, how you rank it, high correlation. Where you sit in class, this is something we can't do online. Extra credit, well, of course, definitely. How prepared you are. Gender, GPA, ACTs, can't really affect these, but they are big determining factors of how students do. I'm looking at this, and I'm just seeing for an online class, how prepared and priority are very good predictors of how students will do. That should probably be our emphasis of where we go. How do we increase the prepared level and priority in their minds?
You commented that it was the second semester, and I know in the school that I teach for during the day, this was our third year doing it. And man, as teachers, by then we knew what to anticipate that students were going to struggle with. And so at the outset of the class, we created help, guides, tutorials of when you get to this unit, these are the things that you're going to. And because we got better as instructors at anticipating beforehand what the students were going to need help with, we were better able to prepare them all along the way.
Awesome.
I will say too that what we call our new version of anatomy and physiology is much more teacher-student interactive than it used to be. We have collaboration boards, which we didn't have before. We have an opportunity to give feedback when they submit their notes, which we didn't before. And we have that opportunity to also help them a little bit better because we're not relying on a published content that we can't change and that we can't really do anything about. And so we receive feedback from students. Well, I didn't read about, Dalton's Law or this and this and this. And so we take that to the campus faculty and say, they didn't get this part, and they can actually rewrite and have entered in a couple extra paragraphs for the next semester. So it's an amazing content because it can still be controlled and involved and made relevant when new things come about. And that's one of the advantages of what like I said, this is our third semester now, or fourth semester in the new version. And I think as we continue on, we're going to see that gap continue to close.
We would like the online faculty to feel like they have the same editing rights. Because everyone's coming with different expertise. We're saying, hey, you don't like a section, rewrite it.
Well, and the fact that you have that autonomy. I mean, how many, usually when you deal with online, so often it's kind of canned. This is, and you have so many restraints about, there's nothing I can do about that. But the fact that you can.
We want freedom for everyone.
And I will say this too, we are really fortunate because we have an OCL who values our opinions and listens to what we have to say. And so in biology, we have this great collaborative effort. I know that I feel just as valued when I talk with them on campus that they probably feel amongst themselves. And that generated this type of community and collaboration that I don't think we necessarily see in other areas. But we've been really fortunate as online instructors that they listen to us and modify. And like I said, once again, allow each individual section could have experimented if they wanted to with one aspect, so we could try to see if they found something better than what we originally set up.
Yeah, we're gonna adapt. So, and this is a little scary, this next stuff. So this is what the faculty think we need. And it doesn't always match with what the students feel. And this is a scary thing. So we just kind of slide the bar, you know, what's useful. So strict schedules with clear due dates, flexibility, they like that, that's fine. Virtual office hours for students to call in, that's a fascinating, no one cares about that. But that's an online thing, it's in every online course, and I'm always curious to say, well, why? If the faculty hate it and the students don't use it, why is it there? Adobe Connect, answering email questions and concerns, look at that. So this is telling me, this is really interesting to the faculty. One more slide. Let's see, the one I found fascinating is, oh, maybe it's not on this one, but the faculty, yeah, there it is. Okay, lecture videos. Guess who wants more lecture videos? Faculty. Guess who doesn't want more lecture videos? Students. So this is a problem because as faculty, a lot of times I think this is gonna work. I'm gonna do this. There's a ton of time and effort and money, and the students don't want it. So another objective I want to accomplish today is to show you that this is what evidence-based learning is we don't just make decisions because it sounds good or this is going to work. I'm okay with that, and I'll visit any suggestion. I just have one caveat. Show me the data. Show me it works. If it works, we'll all do it. And this is a hard thing. We'd like to change the environment. It's a hard thing to report data when your class didn't do very good. We have the same problem on campus. So I have to go in and secretly grab it because I'm not interested, I don't care, but I want the data to see if we're improving. It's a hard thing. We got to create a culture where it's okay. It's okay to fail. If you say I'm going to try something and the class tanks, we don't want that.
But we learned something.
But we're okay with it, and we're not going to fire anybody. I'm not joking. But I want to create this kind of environment. It's very. I think we can go a long way if we'll just collaborate like this.
And I will say, I took a look at our mid-course feedback for A&P classes because I'm the teaching group leader for biology, so I had the opportunity to do that. And those scores are up. It's interesting. There's still a little slight difference, but we have 1 and 264, and most of this data is 264, which is the first semester of a year-long course, and then our second semester is 265. We have 1 in each in pilot, and now there are 3 right now. And I would expect that course, because we've had a little bit of issue with the transition, that those would be lower scores, and they're not. They actually are showing, as far as the student concerns, the overall score report of the course, not the instructor. They're actually improving. So I think what we saw earlier with that low course evaluations, once they get used to the idea that we're not going to spoon feed them anymore, that they are going to have to learn and apply, not just from the first semester, but the second semester, they have to remember some of that first semester stuff. And as instructors, as we help guide them and help them understand, this is application-based. In fact, half their test questions are what we call advanced knowledge and quiz questions, and they're application-based to the systems that we're studying. And once they understand that, I think they're gonna, it's the idea that they will rise to those expectations. Students will do so if they understand that they have to learn to learn. And I think as we are teaching them that, they are coming up to those standards.
And an A is an A.
Right.
So if you get an A online, it's an A. Anyone who wants to call and challenge will say it's an A. Based on BYU-Idaho, it's an A. It's not been modified, twisted, turned. That's a huge benefit.
The other huge benefit is that we didn't have this before either, is that the exams are all the same. So because we were using the publisher, they were on campus already using their own content. We were using a whole different exam than they were. Now everyone gets the same exam. We can really see this data. It really is the equivalent. It's not, apples and pears, so to speak.
So I didn't notice when you had the charts up, but so when you made them the same, did the campus stay at the same level it was, or did it go down? Or?
Well, go back a few slides and I'll address that one. Keep going. Keep going. One more graph. Okay, so this average here, very tight. We're about 7%. Before, with the publisher, we're 7%. So we've dropped a little bit. You're using our own stuff. And we're not addressing that right now, because the exam, we went from 1,500 pages of the textbook down to 320. So I think there's stuff on the test that's our students have never seen. But we took a variety of different exams and tests and objectives, and we tried to say what really matters. We talked to our nursing department, what really matters, which is another really neat thing, because they said our students don't understand acid base, they don't understand IVs. So we said they're gonna now. So we created our own section on IVs. Now the standardized test doesn't ask that question. So we're running into some issues there, but yeah, we're still above the national average. But before we were quite above, now we're just at the national average with our own stuff, but that's standardized test. But this is what I'm more interested in now, is that.
Any other questions or comments?
Job. Cool. Not a word.
And it will continue to be. It will continue to be.
It's evolving. As a constant effort. But, you know, the new faculty coming on, they're like seeing the vision. I got faculty now that just want to do stuff. Can I write this? Yeah. We love our online faculty to feel the same way. Can I write this? Yeah. You can. In fact, you can take the whole thing.
So you found a lot of correlations and you made some changes in the past. What does the next year look like for you?
Well, one thing I'm going to do, actually, so I was a control for 265 this semester. Next semester, I'm going to do a mandatory meeting, but I'm going to do it a little differently than we typically see. You know, one meeting per module. I'm going to do a series of little meetings that they'll have to attend or watch later. So I'll record it and connect or do a screencast or something to that effect, depending, because I do want them to be shorter and see how well they do compared to, you know, the control next semester. So that's one thing that we are changing, and that's one of the beauties of this is that's something that I was thinking about. And Jason is the OCL. Of course, we route everything through him to make sure he's okay with it, but he's very open to that kind of suggestion and modification. I will say, because we have a couple of instructors here, Tanya this semester is experimenting with having more of an interactive collaboration board where they teach each other, really taking on that, you know, teach one another aspect. And so she's developed this great rubric of showing how they have to interact together in order to get their points. And we're checking to see, you know, is that making a difference over the semester? And so we're checking that data. Rob down here also teaches 265, and he is having a mandatory meeting. From my understanding, is it once a week?
Once a week.
Sometimes the modules go 10 days, sometimes they're 3 days.
And that's what I can't figure out.
So,
Yeah.
So,
Model, I would just really help you.
but,
Or at least give us a schedule.
Yeah, so.
so, you know, we'll see if those changes are made. Alan teaches 264, and he was pretty happy with the course. So he hasn't made any changes, but he's also another instructor that really works on contacting the struggling students and spends extra time doing that.
So I made 157 corrections this semester so far.
Great guy, thanks, Jason.
So, and that's okay, that's what we're doing. So we put 20 new pictures in, we created new accessory material. We're gonna keep doing that for a while. We're listening to students like the wife especially, who she's transitioning, she's able to come to the course online and listen. And we're listening, we want her comments. And so what's our plan? Well, right now, we're just still fixing, correcting, tweaking. I'd like to get to the stage where it's running, everything seems to be consistent. Now, let's address bigger problems.
And how far have you gotten in any conversations about other support mechanisms like the
okay, well, we have
collaboration board sort of online isn't really the same as a steady lecture that you do on campus, right?
So on campus, because of all our sections became the same, we now have an online, let's see, what is it, tutoring. We meet 5 days a week, from 5 to 7 at night. We have rooms reserved. We're the biggest provider of that on campus. There's hundreds of students that come, and it's just tutoring among students.
Okay.
And we have the capability, we're getting close, where we have Adobe Connect, where we're going to open it up and let online students come. We're going to tell them, look, there's 2 hours of free tutoring. We have online tutors down, they're exactly the same as campus tutors because it's the same material. So we have campus students come, they can tutor all online. So the tutoring center is now open to all online students. Our lab space is open to online students. Because all of us teach the same thing, we'll respond emails to online students as well as faculty students. We're treating everybody the same. I've had emails from online students to me asking questions. Fine, I'll respond. My students go to somebody else if I'm not there. So we're gradually trying to get those resources. The thing we can't quite get is this face-to-face. I don't know how we're going to do that. That's the problem. That's a huge problem.
How many sections do you have?
I have
Online and
online and
We probably have 6 online, just of 264 and then 3 of 265.
with 8 campus sections with 160 students each.
We have 50 students
And
each.
the same with 265. So we have about 1,500 students on campus that we run through here. And then about 300 or 400 online. And it's continual course too.
And of course, this is a smaller semester. We'll see more sections in both winter and fall.
Falls probably.
So Jason, when do you see the Adobe Connect tutoring being
It's
available?
available right now.
Right now?
We just don't
So I didn't know
have,
about that.
yeah, we just gotta figure out how to do it.
Right,
It's available right now. I just need someone to push it.
okay, because that'd be a great link for
Yeah,
us,
we just
because I had
gotta-
a student just the other day, ask for this very thing.
That's what we need to hear. I didn't know what the demand was, but we have the capability right now to do it. We can
Well,
type them in.
I say that, and yet I have a teaching assistant that conducts a meeting and they don't show up.
That's the problem.
You know, so,
That's what we run into. We opened it up before in the past, not a single online student came. Had it open for a whole month. For those 2 hours, we had tutors on standby, waiting for someone to log in with all of our students, and not a single one. So
sounds
we
like.
have
an
the
opportunity.
capability, but
Synchronous times are gonna be really tough.
yes,
They just-
that's a problem.
So I'm wondering if there's any thought behind, some other asynchronous or any other ideas that we can kind of capture the same experience. without
We've got
doing
a
synchronously.
pile of ideas.
Yeah.
We're just trying to pick which one we're gonna work on first, which
Right.
seems to have the biggest effect. It's all evidence-based.
Right, and part of that is, can we gather the data for that?
Yeah.
To just see what would really refine it. But you had another comment or question?
If you're going to do the Adobe, like basic, simple things, students need to make sure that they have a mic, that they tested it. We have online math tutoring each day, and I'm kind of like appalled by how many kids, they don't have a mic, they don't share their webcam, they don't even have one, and then they just want to chat with you in the box. That is so laborious to try and tutor someone when you're just going back and forth in a chat box. But once we started setting the standard that if you are going to participate in tutoring, these are the requirements, this is what you need to bring to the table. It was just a much better experience across the board for both the tutor and the student who was coming to get help.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I just have a question about assessment, because where it's a hard science, the assessment is very standardized as far as the grading goes from the instructors. But I'm curious about the applicability to more humanity-based courses, where there's a lot of subjectivity that comes into the grading aspect of it. And so do you have any of the grading that is a little bit more subjective to teachers, and how do you address that?
We do have a little bit in lab where they are asked a question, you kind of have to read through and make sure they understand the concepts behind that. We don't have the data up here for the labs. The labs in the online and lecture are pretty similar though, as far as averages from what we can tell.
We got some really neat data on lab, but we don't have time. It's fascinating stuff.
Right. Thank you again.